be honest. If you remove Black Americans from the equation, America loses its rhythm, its style, its creativity, its culture. Black Americans are not a part of the culture. They are the blueprint. Everything modern culture calls, everything modern culture calls is from Black America. Cool, trendy, bold, revolutionary, innovative came from Black America. Let me show you exactly why. Black creativity sets the standard of the entire world. From jazz to hip hop, from blues to R&B, from soul to gospel, Black Americans created the soundtrack for the modern world. Music today globally is shaped by Black roots. The flows, the beats, the style, the sound, it all traces back to Black America. When you create, the world listens. Black fashion is global. You know, the streetwear, sneakers, urban fashion, hairstyles, nail trends, gold chains, braids, locks, and all of that, right? They're all Black trends and all of that. Then Black language and slangs too. Sorry. It's also shaped communication. The way American talks today, right? From viral slang to social media expressions, come from Black speech patterns. The facts. When Black people say it today, America say it tomorrow. When Black people create a phrase, companies and influencers run with it like it's theirs. Black language is a cultural currency. Black activism, right, is redefined. It redefines the world. Civil rights, Black Lives Matter, social justice movement, modern protests, all those things. Then the activities that became global too, modeled for organization, resilience, resistance, courage, unity. Nations copy Black America. Black Americans, turn pain into arts and power. Look at their music, storytelling, rhythm, creativity, innovations, like Black America. That is who they are. The ability to turn pressure into performance and trauma into triumph is unmatched worldwide. This is cultural power. America takes the culture but hides the creators. This is the painful truth. America loves Black culture, but it often refuses to credit Black people. They want the music without musicians, right? Without the musicians that made the music, actually. The style without the stylists. The slangs without the creators. The rhythm without the roots. They love the product, but pretend not to see the source. Black people are the source of all of these things, because acknowledging the source means acknowledging your genius. Now, Black Americans don't always realize their global impact as well. Black Americans influence Korea, Europe, Africa, South Africa, Canada, Australia. The world dances like you, they talk like you, they dresses like you, protest like you, they create like you. The world is watching and copying, because Black Americans set the tone. Let's just watch these videos, and then I'll be back with the conclusion of it. Keep watching.
When motherfuckers used to talk that shit about African American women, like, who would want to be you? All you hoes. All of you hoes, actually. Quite insanely.
When you become pro-Asian enough, you start listening to Black people and become pro-Black as well. I'm not talking about individual Asian advancement where you play pick-me to white people, cater to them, make yourself smaller for them, maybe marry one of them, and then move up in society that way. No, that's not what I'm talking about. When you're interested in the liberation of the Asian American collective and in Asians around the world freeing themselves, and specifically to Asian Americans because we are a relatively new ethnic group in America, you realize that Black Americans have been liberating themselves for as long as they have been here, for over 400 hundred years. You look at the way that they ostracize the pick-me's in their community, the Candace Owens, you can see what happened with Onyeka, the Danish deception girl. Black people, and specifically Black women, did not let them off the hook. Candace Owens can no longer go to Black people for any kind of support or help because as a collective, they have disowned her. Why are Asians not doing more of that? Look at the way that Black people have created their own spaces, created their own communities throughout American history. Even when white people have gone and tried to destroy them, they have managed to create their own culture, their own language. They're protective of those spaces. They embrace their ethnic features and hair texture instead of just doing whatever Karen is doing. And this, I'm talking generally. I'm not saying that every Black American is like this. I'm saying that a lot of them are, and that the general sentiment that I get from that community is that they are proud to be who they are. So if you're Asian and you're thinking, I want to be able to wear my cheap to school. I don't like it when people gentrify my food after making fun of it my entire childhood. I don't like being fetishized, and I will not marry someone who does that to me. When you start thinking this way, you just look right on over to Black people, and they've already had those thoughts. They've already done the same thing. You just do it in your own Asian flavor. And this doesn't even get into the fact that our liberation is all tangled up in each other. Like all the minorities in the US and in the world, overthrowing white supremacy is like a collective effort. And Black people have been telling us this since we got here. I'm just hoping that if I say it, then maybe you will listen.
This the power of foundational Black Americans. 88 years old. Yes. 88 years old. Yeah. Yeah. That's that Black American power, baby. Yeah, stretch on out, grandma. That's right. Look. That's right. That's right. America, baby. Yeah. That was amazing, man. 88 years old, still active. That's the power of a foundational Black American, man. Ain't no telling what grandma went through in her life. But she 88, still getting the push-ups in, still flexible, still can move, man. That is the power of us, okay? We don't quit. We will fight for as long as we gotta fight, man. This video made me happy, I ain't gonna lie. And I ain't been happy too lately, right? But just seeing this gave me a little bit more hope to keep moving forward, man. I'm not gonna lie, all right? I know it's tough. It's tough out there for everybody. It's tough out there for me. I'm going through a lot right now. This video made me happy, dude. All right? American flag jacket on. It looked like the same one Kanye had. She out there doing her, man, come on, man. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Shout out to this young woman here. Grandma, we salute you. Thank you for your service. And thank you for being a perfect example of foundational Black Americans. Thank you.
When we talk about wealth, we hear about Black athletes and entertainers. But what about Black families that built entire banks? These are the Black banking dynasties history forgot. After Reconstruction, Black families knew access to capital was survival. So they founded banks, not just for themselves, but for their communities. These institutions gave out mortgages, business loans, and life insurance when white-owned banks refused. Some of the most powerful examples: the Spalding family, leaders of North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance and Mechanics Farmers Bank in Durham; the Walker family, continuing the legacy of Maggie Lena Walker, who ran St. Luke Penny Savings Bank in Richmond; Robert Reed Church's family, real estate moguls turned financiers in Memphis, helping anchor community credit systems. These weren't just individuals, they were dynasties shaping entire Black economies. These families show us that Black wealth isn't new, and it wasn't only built through fame or entertainment. It was built through creating systems, controlling capital, and keeping dollars circulating in the community. That's real legacy, wealth that outlives the individual. The Black banking families you've never heard of prove we've been building financial institutions for generations. The question is, how do we scale that legacy today? I break down stories like this every week in Creativity Meets Capital. Subscribe now via the link in bio, and let's turn history into future strategy.
Every time Black Americans take a step forward in this country, white supremacists throw a tantrum. We call it progress, they call it a threat. And every era of advancement, every hard-won inch toward equality has been met with a violent wave of backlash. So, Let's talk about it. Donald Trump recently reposted a meme on Truth Social blaming Barack and Michelle Obama for worsening racism, saying they set America back 100 years. This, coming from a man whose entire public life has been steeped in racism, from refusing to rent apartments to black tenants in the 1970s, to calling for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, black and brown teenage boys at the time, even after they were proven innocent, to spreading the racist birther lie that President Obama wasn't born in America. And now, in 2025, he's just proving that the playbook never changed, only the players did. When enslaved people were freed, what came next? Reconstruction. Black men winning elections, opening schools, building communities. And after that, the Ku Klux Klan, voter suppression, lynching campaigns, and the violent overthrow of black-led governments across the South. Progress met with terror. I did make a video on Reconstruction a while back, so go check it out. When black veterans came home from World War I in uniform, having fought for democracy abroad, white mobs murdered them for daring to expect democracy at home. That became known as the Red Summer of 1919. In one of the most haunting examples, a black soldier named Wilbur Little was lynched in Georgia for refusing to take off his army uniform after stepping off the train that brought him home from war. He had risked his life for a country that still refused to see him as a man. And he wasn't the only one. Across the nation, white mobs attacked black veterans simply for wearing their uniforms in public, because those uniforms symbolized equality. And then there's Tulsa. When black prosperity blossomed in Tulsa's Greenwood district, a thriving neighborhood known as Black Wall Street, the backlash was swift and brutal. Greenwood wasn't just wealthy, it was successful on its own terms. Black doctors, lawyers, barbershops, grocery stores, newspapers, tailors, hotels, and a fully functioning economy built by black families who were shut out of white society. Some residents were millionaires in today's dollars, all of it built just 50 years after slavery was abolished. Proof that black excellence could flourish when given even a sliver of space. And that's exactly why white supremacists burned it all down. In 1921, after a false accusation against a black teenager, white mobs, many deputized by local police, stormed Greenwood. They looted homes, they set businesses on fire. Eyewitnesses reported private planes dropping incendiary bombs. Black residents were shot in the street or dragged from their homes. By the time it ended, over 35 square blocks were destroyed. Up to 300 black men, women, and children were killed. More than 10,000 black residents were left homeless overnight. And not a single white rioter was ever held accountable. Greenwood wasn't destroyed because of crime or chaos or uprisings. It was destroyed because white supremacists couldn't tolerate the sight of black wealth, black self-sufficiency, and black dignity thriving without white control. That's the pattern, and you see it again in the 1960s. After the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act finally outlawed segregation and protected black voting rights in 1965, white politicians had a problem. They could no longer legally defend segregation. They could no longer say, we don't want black people in our schools, or we don't want black people voting. So they rebranded their racism with new language. They called it law and order. Law and order wasn't about crime. It was a political weapon designed to frame black Americans as dangerous, disruptive, and undeserving without ever mentioning race. Barry Goldwater hinted at it in 1964. Richard Nixon perfected it in 1968. His advisors admitted on tape that law and order was designed to attract racist voters without sounding racist. And the policy fallout was devastating. Mass incarceration, the war on drugs, over-policing black neighborhoods, mandatory minimums, stop and frisk, all justified by coded language white voters found comforting. Ronald Reagan doubled down with states' rights. and the racist welfare queen myth. Bill Clinton expanded the prison industrial complex even further, and Donald Trump wrapped it all in "Make America Great Again," a slogan rooted in turning back the clock on civil rights. Same playbook, same backlash, same message. Black progress is the threat. White grievance is the answer. So when Trump reposts a meme claiming the Obamas made racism worse, understand what he's really saying. That the sight of a black family in the White House, educated, poised, and powerful, was unbearable for people whose identity depends on feeling superior. Obama didn't make America racist. He revealed how deeply racism still runs. Trump is the backlash to it, the embodiment of everything this country refuses to face about itself. This is unfinished history. The same forces that once burned Greenwood, that fought to keep schools segregated, that silenced civil rights leaders, they never disappeared. They just put on suits and ran for office. If we want this cycle to end, white Americans have to stop pretending racism lives in the past. We have to face it in our laws, in our classrooms, in our neighborhoods, and in ourselves. Because silence is what keeps the system alive, and now is not the time for silence. Black Americans shouldn't have to prove their humanity again and again, while those who spread hate are rewarded with power. And yet here we are, a nation still built on denial, still terrified of accountability, still repeating the same cycle because too many white Americans would rather cling to denial than face the truth. But history doesn't move on its own. We do. So the question isn't whether the backlash will fade. It's whether we'll finally have the courage to end it, to confront what's right in front of us, to make sure this time progress doesn't have to start over again.
So Fabio, we just gonna be out here pretending like we all didn't hear what we heard with both our ears? You wanna sit there and talk about the truth of the matter about something, baby. The truth of the matter is you are anti-black, full stop. And it doesn't matter how you try to excuse it away or how you try to rationalize it by saying the nonsense you said about how you don't call people black, you just say dark-skinned. You don't like to call people of color what they are ethnically. Only dark-skinned people that you'll call black are people from Congo. And then you try to erase Michael Jackson's ethnicity completely, his black legacy as a black American, by saying that his mother is Japanese and Native American, with zero receipts, zero evidence as to this claim that you're making in the first place. And then on top of that, to add insult to injury, you wanted to say that Michael Jackson had good hair, so he can't possibly be black American. And then you doubled down when you were corrected, saying that you've never seen a black person with good hair, and if they do have a good hair, quote unquote good hair, it must be a wig. You're anti-black. Not even mentioning that you're MAGA, because obviously. And this purely solidifies the fact that you're not one of us. Because if you were, then you would know that the reason why his hair looked different later is because he was pressured by the Eurocentric ideas of what beauty is. He wanted to fit in with relaxers and straighteners and chemical burn. That's not mixed hair, okay? That's not Japanese hair. That's not native hair. That is hair from the pressure and the poison from an industry that only worships whiteness. But instead of talking about that, you turned it into black women only have hair like that if it's a wig. You're just gonna pretend like we did not all watch Michael Jackson with his glorious 4C afro. First of all, 4C hair is good hair. All black hair is good hair. Baby, in my opinion, the closer its roots to Africa, the more beautiful it is. See, but what's not good is using good hair as a weapon to try to separate ourselves from each other. An anti-black strategy as old as racism itself. It's old and it's tired, just like your act. Then you tried to hide behind Chris Rock's good hair documentary as if that was within the same context that you were using it. You obviously gathered nothing from that movie. And again, you're not one of us, because if you were, you'd know we don't fuck with Chris Rock like that. For your information, that movie was a critique, not a hall pass. All of this that you're doing, erasing Michael Jackson's ancestry that's black, erasing Michael Jackson's black features, pretending he didn't have African textured hair, calling wigs the default for black women. That's not confusion, that's not words getting twisted, that's not a slip up, that's not the internet running and making things up. That's you, your true self, your anti-black self. And it's painfully obvious when it's coming from somebody who purposely plants themselves in MAGA soil. So no, you don't get to water down and whitewash and redefine our idols and our icons. Michael Jackson is part of Black American legacy, Black excellence, whether you like it or not. Black lineage matters, baby. And if you call yourself a fan, then you owe them respect. And if you're not going to speak on them with accuracy, baby, don't speak at all.
I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can, because I think this is where a lot of the biological women get a bit of this confused. Do I identify as and want to be the best woman I can? And do I reflect the women in my life? Absolutely. Are they the blueprint? Yes. You're not my blueprint. I want to be like my mother. I want to be like my grandmother. I want to be like Black women that I idolize and look up to. All Black women are not created the same. So yes, I want to be like the Black women that I see. I don't want to be like you. And I think that's the confusion. And yes, that is a read because it's a factual statement and it's going to land as a read. I've never woken up and said, oh my God, my deepest desire is to be like Elaine Marie. I promise you it's not. I wouldn't even put those strings of words together. That seems ridiculous. Yes, this is another video because it's my last video because I have to get ready for my glam appointment and things. But this is a universal statement for everyone. There is a blueprint of the Black woman, and then there are the subsidiary blueprints that exist within individual Black women. And y'all misconstrue that I want to be you. No. I have a high standard for myself. I've gone to Georgetown and Stanford. I have a street named after me. I want to be like Justice Ketanji Brown. I want to be like Beyonce. Again, I want to be like my mama. I want to be like Jackie Aina. I want to be like Nina Parker. I want to be like Niecy Nash. I want to be like Sheryl Lee Ralph. I want to be like Michelle Obama. I don't want to be like Elaine Marie. But I hope you find somebody who desires to be like you so you can have a legacy and you can see a reflection of yourself in something. I hope you have a wonderful day.
I am a Nigerian man, but there are two things that make me truly embarrassed of being Nigerian. The first thing is how white supremacist Nigerians are as a collective, and the second is how very comfortable Nigerians are with the current state of Nigeria, in spite of the fact that shit is fucked up in Nigeria. Now, I will give grace because I understand that we have a long way to go, and it's not easy being a Black person in a white supremacist capitalistic world, so I will give grace because we as a Black collective will still have ways to go. However, there are so many things that Nigerians can learn from Black Americans. For example, did you know that once upon a time in the United States of America, Black people were not considered humans? They were considered property. I don't think you understand. Like, Black Americans who occupy America today, once upon a time, they were not considered human beings at all. Just imagine how fucked up that is, that their ancestors built America, yet they were considered less than humans. But guess what they did? They fought back. So in the 1800s, there was a civil war because some people wanted to make sure that Black Americans remained properties. And in this civil war, more American soldiers died than any other war that American soldiers have died in combined. Let that sink in. Only because Black Americans just wanted to be seen as humans. That's it. Black Americans were not asking for too much. They just wanted a space where they can survive. That's it. They understood that they couldn't go back to Africa because that tie is already broken. They couldn't go anywhere else because they don't know anywhere else but America. America is all they know. And in America, white still has power. They were not trying to fight or drag that power with white. They just wanted a safe space for them to raise their children and just do their own thing. However, with Nigerians. Nigerians do not fight the fuck shit in Nigeria because Nigerians believe that the white man's ice is colder. The average Nigerian does not believe in Nigeria, even though we like to pretend that we are proud to be Nigerian. Giant of Africa, all kinds of foo-foo shit. The average Nigerian is looking to leave Nigeria by fire, by force, to go to America, to go to Canada, to go to UK. Why is the average Nigerian trying to run to America? To enjoy the benefits that black American ancestors have fought and died for you, so that your black ass from Nigeria can be considered a human being, so that your children born on American soil will be considered American citizens with equal rights to whites, because you do not truly believe in Nigeria. That is the power of the audacity that came from them fighting back. Imagine if all Nigerians, both home and abroad, stopped looking at immigration as the solution and start fighting for what is truly ours in our home country with the exact same audacity or more. Hey, Fada, just imagine what Nigeria would look like for us and our children yet to be born.
I don't understand why, as black people, black American people specifically, we keep getting on this app trying to explain to people the fights that our ancestors fought so that we could stay here, and people who look like us but are not necessarily us get to come here and reap the benefits of the work that our ancestors did. Why we keep explaining to people the contributions that black American people make to culture, to language, to music, to everything, to literally everything. Why we keep coming on here trying to explain to people that are not us our contributions to the world. They don't want to understand. They are committed to not understanding. They are committed to being purposefully and willfully obtuse. There's no reason, and I'm only saying this because I open this app and I swear every other video is some kind of diaspora war and discussions about why black people should be respected. We know that. We know this. They don't want to. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to understand it. Why are we not focusing our energies on the people who are willing to learn and who are willing to listen and who are willing to stand with us and be with us? We know this already. We are the least respected race, ethnicity here. Why? Who knows? Colonization and systemic racism. We know the answers, right? But we have to stop battling with people who don't want to understand our greatness and the reasons and the culture and the history. They don't care. They benefit from all the work that our ancestors did, that some of us continue to do, and that's enough. That's enough. So that's just my opinion. Just my opinion.
Personally, as a black woman, I have never, ever, ever aspired or looked to a white woman for success. I've never gauged success by whiteness. Are y'all cool? This associates versus higher education degree conversation is exposing a lot of y'all internalized hatred for being black. And you know what? Stay over there. I have never not had an example of us to look to. I remember being in like third grade reading Little Bill, looking on the back of Little Bill, and it's a black woman who went to Spelman University for journalism. She made me want to go to Spelman University for so many years. Why? Because she looked like me and she wrote Little Bill, and I loved them books. We have always been here, and we have always been successful. Don't ever let them play you out of that. But saying that education is gauging to whiteness, I don't know.
Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodiness. Secondly, you must have the determination to achieve excellence. And so I would urge you to study hard, to burn the midnight oil when you discover what you're going to be in life. Set out to do it as if God Almighty called you at this particular moment in history to do it. Set out to do a good job and do that job so well that the living, the dead, or the unborn couldn't do it any better. Finally, in your life's blueprint must be commitment, the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. And so our slogan must not be burn, baby, burn. It must be build, baby, build. Organize, baby, organize. Learn, baby, learn so that we can earn, baby, earn. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving.
I was watching a video of this guy talking about some of the newest ethnicities in the world, and because he kept talking about the slave trade, I thought he was going to talk about African Americans. And did he? No. But it made me want to talk about being African American. In my experience, I feel like a lot of people see African Americans as like cultureless, like we're just like the darker counterpart to white people in a way. It's not really like that, like at all. Like we have our own languages, we have our own customs, we have our own holidays, we have our own sayings, right? We have African American folklore. There are so many different things that we have as African Americans, and some African Americans don't know about this. Is why I feel like a lot of African Americans also portray this idea that we don't have an ethnicity or a culture or anything. I really feel like a lot of African American people growing up have a sense of identity of I was taken from an area, therefore I do not have a culture, right? And I feel like a good example of this is in that episode of Family Reunion on Netflix where the girl does the DNA test and she finds out that she's Kenyan. She's like, guys, I'm African, I'm Kenyan. Taken from North Africa? Yes. But do we have our own culture? Yes. I feel like there's going to be somebody in the comments like, well, I didn't experience that. I didn't feel that way. Well, great for you. Great for you. There were so many other African Americans who felt that way. The person who is African American who did once feel like, oh my God, I was just taken or whatever and I don't have a culture. No, I do have a culture. And actually it's incredibly common throughout history for people to be like forcibly migrated into like adapt and, you know, get a new culture, you know? Not get a new culture, but like develop a new culture from the circumstances that they were in. But thinking about it like that, I'm like, wait, like this is kind of like tea. Like my people really like were put on the ship, like were put through horrible conditions and like still persevere. They kind of ate that up, low key, high key. My ancestors really did that. Some people are like, oh, I'm Han Chinese, I'm Slavic, baby, and I'm African American. Like all ethnicities, babe.
If you watch this video closely, you're going to see that these ones are Asians, but they're now braiding their hairstyles, and these things are courtesy black people, black Americans, for instance. Ordinarily, they have no business doing this, right? But look at it, they want to be black Americans by all means. It shows that black Americans are the the blueprints. Like, look at these people in Africa. This is like a typical African market. These people dress like black Americans and they're doing something, they're dancing in the market, you know, like hip hop kind of dance, right? With the jeans and all of that, with the big shirts and all of that, all of these things, and this Rema, all of these things, they're all trying to copy who? The black Americans. If you're not giving it to black Americans, I don't know what you're doing. The reason why I had to take away this is because of the sound. The sound is not good for my channel, right? And that is why I'm doing all of this for you to know. Now look at this ones are Indians. They are not dancing like Indians here. They are literally trying to force themselves to look like the contemporary black Americans, and the way they express themselves when they're performing, when they're singing, when they're dancing and all of that. Look, imagine how she's doing it, and honestly she's doing it so well. It shows that black Americans are the footprints, the blueprints. Look at those people, Chinese. Look at the expression in that music, looking like black Americans. Yeah, and then you tell me that black Americans are not the blueprints. Yo, watch all of these things and then you will see. Thank you.
To emulate their favorite American rappers. This trend involved darkening their skin and wearing various black braiding hairstyles, such as cornrows. In recent years, there has been a resurgence of interest in Afro hairstyles among Japanese men. Afro perms have become a popular trend, with specialized barbers offering this unique hairstyle. Additionally, platforms have seen a significant number of posts under hashtags related to Afro hair in Japan, indicating a growing interest and appreciation for these styles.
Okay, so I've seen multiple comments again about black culture. Black culture is an ethnic culture pertaining to ethnic black Americans, okay? That's what it is. And don't mention HBCUs to try and prove a point, because the reason HBCUs, and when I say to try and prove a point, because multiple people from different places come now and attend HBCUs. The original purpose of the HBCU was for ethnic Black Americans. This is no secret. So just because you see black, you have to understand that black, that word black in there means ethnic Black American, Black culture. Okay, because the first HBCUs were founded in the 1800s. It did not consider anyone outside of the United States of America. When they were formed specifically for ethnic Black Americans. Now, does that mean that HBCUs should not allow people to go? No, it doesn't. Does that mean that Black Americans, ethnic Black Americans, have an issue with other people coming into HBCUs? No, we never have had a problem with it. Okay? You just need to understand what you're reading when you see historically Black colleges and universities. You have to understand what that word means. This is the reason why a lot of people around the globe, okay, feel like, oh, there's no culture in Black America, because they see it as racial. It's not. It's an ethnic Black American culture. Black. You're not reading the word right. You're not, the context is off, okay? Black means ethnic Black American. That's why it was formed. It was not formed taking into account people from all four corners of the earth who look like me.
I want you to imagine a little Black girl in the 1920s, not the ones from the books that you may have seen, not the polite history teachers have to paint. I mean like a real Black child, living under Jim Crow, bones aching, body hurting, and already learning that the world that she was born into wasn't built to keep her alive. Bessie Blount was that child. When she was a kid, she broke her collarbone, and the hospital staff treated her like she wasn't even worth the bandages. She was in pain, real pain, and nobody cared enough to help her heal. So she taught herself. With her feet, with her mouth, with whatever part of her body she could still control. Not because she wanted to, but because segregation forced her to become her own medical system. A child reinvented her own body because the world refused to treat her like she had one. That's the beginning of her story. Not the patents, not the inventions, not the genius. The neglect. After World War II, veterans came home with limbs missing, nerves destroyed, and bodies mangled. Men that this country trained for war and discarded as soon as the war ended. And Bessie walked into those veterans' hospitals like, if nobody saved me, I'm going to save you. She taught amputees how to write again, taught paralyzed men how to eat without waiting for a nurse, taught men who couldn't lift a hand how to lift their dignity. And when she realized the tools they needed didn't exist, she built them. Adaptive utensils, writing devices, a feeding machine that allowed people with no mobility to feed themselves. The first time a paralyzed veteran fed himself was because a Black woman that refused to believe that disability meant helplessness. She gave men their lives back, one invention at a time. But the U.S. Army told her that they didn't need her feeding device. They said no, they dismissed her, they turned her away. And then, years later, the same government started using similar technology without her name mentioned anywhere. They didn't just erase her. They recycled her brilliance and handed it to somebody with the right skin. Imagine inventing something to help dying veterans and watching the country that ignored your childhood injury ignore your adulthood genius with the same exact silence. She never escaped the disrespect, it just changed outfits. And even then, she didn't stop reinventing herself. She became a forensic handwriting expert, one of the best in the nation, because the girl that wrote with her feet grew into a woman who could see what other people's eyes weren't trained to catch. Police, detectives, attorneys, they all called her when the truth was hiding in the ink. She rebuilt herself over and over again, because this country refused to build anything for her. She wasn't lucky, she was exceptional. She was determined in a world that tried to starve the determination out of her. So say her name and say it with the weight that it deserves. Say Bessie Blount knowing that she saved people that this country couldn't be bothered to save. Say it knowing that she healed men whose government abandoned them. Say it knowing she built devices that they stole. Say it knowing she fought for dignity in a system that treated her as disposable. Say it because if she were white, she would have been in every textbook. Every hospital wing, every medical hall of fame. Say it because she deserved a nation behind her. And instead she had to build herself from the damage the nation caused. Say Bessie Blount because remembering her is the least that this country owes her. Say her name, Bessie Blount.
Did you know that the first legal slave owner in America was a black man? Yep, we're going to get into it. But before we get into it, welcome back, class, to Night History School, where we go over the unfiltered truth of history, history that is usually covered up or just not touched at all. But here we're going to dive into it. We're going to call roll, but instead of calling all of these names as our classroom grow, I just want y'all to show me you are present by liking this video, following my page, and commenting just to let me know you were here. Also, the rules I have is no texting, no talking on the phone. I need you paying attention. My second rule is take you a little drink. And I see my white class in here. Y'all looking a little too happy about this one. Woo! Black people in my class, they look like they won't fight me in the back. But it's alright. The truth is hard. It's hard, y'all. And we can't argue that history is being taken out of class in schools if when real history comes at you, you don't want to hear it. You cannot make history convenient for you. Alright? Let's get into it. So in 1621, a African black man came into America by way of Virginia to be an indentured servant. Yes, he was not a slave, he was an indentured servant. At that time, slavery was not around yet in America. It was all indentured servants, which was completely different than slavery. This was very popular among Africans as well as Europeans coming to the country. At that time, indentured servants would typically have a set amount of years that they would have to work underneath their owner or master, which typically was about 5 to 7 years. A lot of people that were in servitude came from a few different things. Mainly, it could have been that they owed a debt to someone. They were captured and sold into servitude, or they had committed a crime. So Johnson, he served his time as an indentured servant. He finished his time, and right when he finished his indentured servitude, he had enough money to start purchasing land. By 1651, he had already amassed 250 acres of land. He also had become one of the wealthiest free black men in the colony. And he owned probably about 15 slaves, I would say. It says he owned about 6 to 7 African slaves, and the other half was white. He was very wealthy, and things took a turn. It took a turn in 1653, where one of Johnson's African servants by the name of John Kacer claimed that his term of service was over, and he left to work for another white neighbor. Johnson sued that white neighbor and demanded that Kacer be returned. He brought this to the Virginia court, and it took 2 years for the Virginia court to make this settlement. But in 1655, they ruled in Johnson's favor, and they declared Kacer a slave for life. And this was the first legal time ever in American history where it was someone being a slave for life. And it changed the courtroom drastically, y'all, and it changed American history. And this didn't happen by a white slave master. It happened by a black man. And I want to continue to tell you that he was African. He was not a black or a Negro American that was already here. And over time after that case, the court started making laws against Africans owning slaves, owning land, because at that time in the colonies, an African could become free. He can purchase land. He can even own a firearm at that time. But all of those laws changed, and then slavery started now to solely depend on race or a color of skin. And this was the first time that it started happening in America, because this was not the United States yet. Okay. But ironically, he passed away in 1670, and the Virginia government ended up seizing all of his land, y'all. And they declared that he was an alien because he was an African. Yep. We can tie that into a lot of stuff today. And ending this video, I just want to say that a lot of your first slave owners, or your first black slave owners in this country, was not born in this country. They came from Africa. A lot of your people, or Negro Americans that were born here and here before the slave trade, they did not have slaves, but many of them had servants and the help. But this changed everything, because slavery was already happening in Africa. They were already capturing tribes and selling them off into slavery. That was not happening here yet until this case. So in this case, Anthony Johnson was the first legal slave owner in America. He was the first slave master to make someone a slave for life. I know it sucks. White people, y'all clapping a little too much. But I understand why y'all clapping. We learn about white slave masters all our life, but we rarely ever touch on these black ones. Many of you probably did know this, but a lot didn't. So, to wrap it up, please comment, please like, please share. We're going to do a real deep dive coming soon on these things. I kind of did an overview because I don't want to give it all yet. But make sure you also check out that link in my bio. It's going to show you a little more information on what I have going on. And if you want to buy a drink for me, you can go ahead and send me $1 or $2 or $1,000. You know, the Democratic Party, they always tell me that you white people are paying me to talk like this. So prove them right for once, all right? Talk to y'all tomorrow. I look forward to seeing all these comments. Ooh.
Why is everybody so surprised when they find out that a black person invented something?
Oh, a little statistic I read the other day.
Tell me.
A black kid invented the doorknob. Did you know that?
Google it.
That guy invented the door fucking knob, dude.
What the hell were they doing before?
They were difficult to open. I mean, but he made it, and he made no money off of it. People just stole it from him. Like, I could have thought of that, and just took it from him. That guy invented Osmond Dorsey. Fucking credit to him.
It's almost like they could never see it, but that also makes me think of why black history is so important, because they think all we do is shoot basketballs and catch footballs, but no, way back 1800s, 1900s, even the 1700s, black people weren't all slaves, black people weren't all poor. We did everything. Okay, so I think it's weird that even today in 2025, we still see black people as like this subhuman group that like barely invented the wheel or something. No, black Americans been out here in these streets inventing stuff. Just like this brother right here, Osborne Dorsey, who invented the doorknob and got the patent in 1878. You get what I'm saying? So shout out to him and his relatives that are still here. But no, black Americans been out here in these streets. You can just look up the millions and millions of things that we had our hands on.
We must put America first. This is a nation that invented the light bulb. the telegraph, the television, the telephone, the computer chip, the smartphone, the GPS, the integrated circuit, and even the internet. Basically, we invented everything. What is left? We invented everything.
This right here is one of the whitest things that Trump could have ever done. He's being a white man. This is what a white man does. He comes, he conquers, and takes credit. They always been doing. And then you know what blacks thought was the best option? It made it to where it was easier for them to take credit for our work. You wanna know how? Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King made it to where there's no more segregation, but now there's integration. And now we come together. And now it's just easier for them. Now they ain't gotta go to a whole different country on the other side of the world to take credit for someone else's work, because all the people that's doing all the amazing work, it's inside of their country, under their rules, following their laws, under their shelter. It's easier. Now they're right next to us. The enemies are living next door. Now you got people who think that white people invented the computer chips. White people invented the telephone. White people invented everything, even though it was actually blacks.
Get away! I'm in the schools around here all the time, looking on. How many schools you got there to work? I got lots of them, yes. How long will you be through? Oh, it'll be a long time. Be a long time? Long time. Just got a lot of clothes to wash here. When you go through, you go iron them? I don't know when I'm going to iron them, but I'm washing them now. Lord, I never is going to get finished with these clothes. In my heart, Lord, I won't live a Christian in my heart.
Did you guys know that black Americans invented a language called Totnese? They invented it in the 18th century, and it's a language added to the English vernacular that we already know that they have.
We create blues, jazz, rock and roll, reggae, ska. We invent all of that shit. And to top it off, we invent all the modern shit that you all use. From the video game cartridge, Henry Lawson, huh? We got the pacemaker, Otis Boynton. We have the late Dr. Bath, who created the laser eye surgery. We have Dr. Gladys, who's still alive, who's almost 80 years old, who created GPS. We have the guy who created the algorithm for Instagram, who's a 21-year-old Ghanaian kid. We've done all this shit. Then the internet was discovered by a Nigerian guy in the 80s. Like, we've done all of this innovation, even though we've been shit on.
Black Americans, you are not influencers. You are not participants. You are not community without culture, right? You are not community within culture. You are the blueprint of modern culture. Your rhythm shapes the world. Your style dictates trends. Your language forms communication. Your struggle inspires movement. Your creativity fuels industry. Your presence rewrites the narrative. America copies you. The world copies America, you know, which means the world is copying you invariably. You are the blueprint. And deep down, everybody knows it. Everybody might just want to hide it, but we all know that Black Americans are the blueprint, and it's a pleasure to have you all in our lives. I can't even mention how much that means to everybody you see, right? But you guys are the world, and you guys mean the world, right? So that is it. I'd like to see your thoughts in the comments about this video. Do not forget to subscribe, like, share. I am blessing your friend, your sister, your cousin, everything, right? I'll be here supporting you and cheering you up in everything. Do not forget, I love you all. Stay bold, stay beautiful. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.